On 24 August 2016, at 3:36 Italian time, a devastating earthquake unfortunately hit central Italy. Its moment magnitude was 6.0 and the most devastated town was Amatrice. Here you see a satellite picture before and after the earthquake. As you see, the center of the town unfortunately is completely destroyed. Only the civic tower resists to the earthquake and has been just restored. The rest of the center of Amatrice unfortunately is devastated and doesn't exist anymore. Actually, the most close town to the epicenter, just 2 kilometers afar, was Accumoli, that is also completely destroyed, as you see from the picture.
Hello everyone, here we are in a very special place. We are between Vettoretto and Vettore mountain, above what is the Bove Vettore fault system in central Italy. And just here we see the surface immersion of the fault, very long. That's you just see a small piece of this fault created by the 24 but mainly the 30 October 2016 earthquakes occurred in central Italy. Here we can even measure a displacement. We have a rule and a simple one, but it's sufficient, and we see it's about 37 centimeter in this point. Here on this side, as you see, it is even more visible the immersion of the fault, and very larger. Here there are even the root of the plants that are now dried after 8 years from the earthquake, because they were kept out from the earthquake, because as on the other side, before 24 August 2016, like this parts of the ground were at the same level of this one. So here the displacement is very, very large, and this continues on this side and continues up to the big part that we see from far. Then we see the other part of the very long immersion of the fault, and it's even larger than what it's at this point, but it's difficult to reach. So I just show you from this position, and now it's little in backlight, but you can see some of the recorded picture in the movie that you see superimposed to my speaking. So that's also the other side that go, so that is the north direction actually, and this is the south direction, but it's extremely long. There are several decades of kilometers of that these earthquakes make a broken, and this fault emerges on the ground. And we need to say that only the stronger earthquakes have results on the ground. So that's the reason, like we see the slip due to the 6.5 especially, little less the 6.0 because it was small, and in fact that one was a little very smaller effect. That is mostly for the 6.5 earthquake. What happened during the 24 and 30 October 2016? Practically this level of ground before the 24 August in particular was at the same level of this one. So during the earthquake, this part of the terrain, but not only here, like it's a big block that go from this point, the fault, up to Castelluccio, that is in that direction, or Norcia, that is after the Castelluccio, all of this plate slip down in just a few minutes, and most of this movement was during the 30 October 2016 for magnitude 6.5 earthquake, what we call the Norcia earthquake. And this is a surface displacement here almost 40 centimeter, but INGV researcher go all along the fault, and they measure in fact from 40 to even 70 centimeter of displacement, or even little more. And this is what it's produced on the surface, and it's compatible with the model that suppose a slip on the source at the source that is about 9 kilometer below this plane. Like this plane that you see here, you need to imagine that go 9 kilometer below. How much is 9 kilometer? Do you know the highest mountain on the earth? It's Mountain Everest. That is about 8 kilometers, 8,000 meters. So this means that is more than the highest mountain of Everest below here. So this plane keep going down. We cannot even imagine how much. And at a depth of about 9 kilometers, there was the nucleation. At this depth, the slip was estimated to be about 2 meters, 200 centimeters. So, if we get this one, this is 1 meter. It's 2 times this one. So you need to imagine that 9 kilometers below this point, the slip was 2 times this one, like more than one person, or the height of a person. And in this case, the earthquake is a normal fault earthquake, which means that it is an extensional system. It's the typical focal mechanism for happening, because this here we are exactly on Apennine mountain, and all the chain of the Apennine is an extensional chain. So it means that there is the president of INGV, Professor Carlo Doglioni, that names this earthquake also gravity quakes. Why? Because this type of earthquakes are driven by the gravity force. As in fact, in the deep, it's not here, but it's from here about 9 kilometers below this point. At this depth, actually, there is a gap that gradually increases until the rocks can sustain the increase of stress. At certain point, this increase is not anymore sustainable, and this an immense block of ground, because it's not just what you see here, because it's from here reaching Castelluccio, Norcia, and even after, all of this land that we see from this wonderful sunset on this mountain, it's fall down in how much time? About 2 minutes. So that's why then the earthquakes is also so catastrophic, damage so much, because it's a huge release of energy in a few amount of time. So it's a high power event. And the direct effect in these minutes of the earthquakes is, as you know, is the shake of the ground. So that's how the earthquakes forms, but we try to study if before the earthquakes in general in the world, but in particular before these earthquakes occurred here in central Italy, there were some possible alteration of lithosphere, atmosphere, ionosphere, even some possible lithosphere, atmosphere, ionosphere coupling during the preparation of Amatrice Norcia earthquakes. And we published 3 papers on these earthquakes in central Italy. The first one was in pure and applied geophysics. First author is Alessandro Piscini, and please, I invite you to download the paper and read using the QR code or the link in the description below. Then we publish another paper also in pure and applied geophysics. I was the first author, and we analyze the magnetic data of swarm satellite, also the electron density, from several months before the earthquakes, and we found interesting result. Then we try to make a multi-parametric analysis of the lithosphere, atmosphere, and the ionosphere before these earthquakes. That here you see the effect in the mountain, the nature, but unfortunately they had a very bad effect on the town. And we publish in this last paper the result in remote sensing of environment. And